Gasset. Katerina, I hope I said your last name correctly.
Gasset, that's fine.
Okay, Gasset. But Katerina is so well known in the social networking world and outside of that as well. And that's how I had the pleasure of meeting Katerina, was through social networking. And she has helped me tremendously with my website and different things, and encouraging me to be able to do these things at my age. But anyway, Katerina is a specialist in short sales. I've sent some information out to you earlier about all of her characteristics and her qualifications. So I think you all know that, but I really just wanted to reiterate that you have a very special guest today, and you should feel very proud to have this guest be your speaker. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Katerina. So hopefully I can pass the screen correctly. Yes. Okay. Should be going to you.
Okay, it says you have been made the presenter. Okay, show my screen. Okay, let me know when you see my screen, Liz.
Okay, I will. It should be coming up. Here we go. I'll get myself out of the way. Okay.
Let me know if you can see it.
Yes. Yes, we've got your screen now, so go for it.
Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. I wanted to thank Liz for this opportunity to be able to speak to you and to all of the brokers and agents. I am going to be talking to you today about our expired listing secrets program and give you like an overview of some things and also give you some tips on how to work with expired listings. If you have questions after the call, you can always reach me, leave a message at my office, and I'll get back to you. And if you leave your email address, that's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me if you have certain questions. Just wanted to explain just a couple things about Nestor and myself. We were highlighted as the 2010 Success Realtors in the NAR magazine. And what they did was they did a story, and they came down here to discuss and talk to us about how we market to expired listings. We've been doing expired listings for over 20 years, and we've always used direct mail as our #1 way to market to expireds. Liz, if you start to have audio problems, let me know, because I have to change rooms. I have to go into another room.
Okay.
Sometimes GoToWebinar has audio bridge problems if I go too far away from my router, okay?
Okay.
So just let me know if there comes to be if I start to break up, and I'll change rooms.
Okay.
And our office is a little noisy. So okay. So the first thing I wanted to talk to everybody about is when you're going to do, actually it's with any kind of marketing you want to do, but especially if you're going to target like something like expired listings, you need to have the correct mindset, and then you have to develop a plan to do it. Because if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. So what you need to do is sit down and make a list and make a plan of what is your overall listing plan. First of all, you need to decide, are you going to be a listing agent? Are you going to be a buyer's agent? And then if you're going to be a listing agent, what kind of listings do you want to go and get? And then you need to just figure out the price range of listings. And do you have a business plan in place as to how much money you're going to spend on investing in your business? How much do you have allotted for direct mail? How much do you have allotted for if you're still doing any kind of print magazine and things like that? How much money do you have allotted for internet marketing? And then how much money do you have allotted for your sphere of influence, like for thank you cards and birthday cards and that sort of thing, your high touch stuff. So all of that should be in your business plan. And then you need to put your marketing strategies into place. And when you're working with expired listings, that becomes a part of this plan. It's not something that you just wake up one day and say, oh, I guess I'll go after some expireds today. If you're going to your business that way, that's just a recipe for failure, because you've got to set everything up and know where you're going to go. You also need to invest in your business. So the biggest problem that we have when we talk to agents about running an expired program is that they don't understand that they're going to have to pay for postage, they're going to have to pay for envelopes, for labels, for a printer if they don't have one. They cannot use their office printer for most of this kind of work if they're working for a bigger franchise and stuff like that. So I don't know how Liz has it set up with your franchises or what you offer your agents, but I'm speaking to you like as if you're the one doing the expired listings. So you're going to have to invest financially in that part. You also have to invest your time into your business and into doing the research, getting your systems set in place. What's great about expired listing marketing, it is something that once you set up, once you put the time in it, it's very easy to delegate it to somebody else and train somebody to do it, that you can pay, $8, $9, $10 an hour to really implement and do the the stuff that takes a long time. What we do, Nestor will review about once a week. He'll review. We have it used to be our kids. We used to hire our kids to do it for us all the time, but now they're all, our daughter that did it for many years for us since she was 13 is now our listing manager. So she no longer has time to quote unquote work in our mail room taking care of expireds. So we just hired a 16-year-old to come and help us do that. So what Nestor will do is she'll work, do all her things all week that he gives her the list to do on the expireds, and we have a system that he follows. And then he'll check on the MLS once a week. He has our MLS lets you set out certain criteria and save that criteria, so he'll just go back in and check and see if she's really catching the properties that he wants her to go after. But we really train them into not just going after any property. We do not send a listing packet out to every single expired. Now, if you're in a market where you don't have very many expireds, you probably are going to send it to every one of them. But we're in a market where, we could probably get out, we used to be able to send out about 120 a day, so that was a lot. The inventory has gone down. It's, some stuff has come off the shelves. The market is moving a little bit better, so we're probably sending about 30 to 40 mailers a day now. So you want to work on delegating and creating the highest and best use of your time for it, and then of course you need to monitor and adjust as you're going along. You might be going along just smooth, and this happens to us a lot too. We'll be working in a particular market that we know is working really well, a particular town in our county or whatever, and then after a while you start to notice that the inventory really goes down or the stuff just never sells. So either one of those, then you got to sit back and look at it and say, okay, well, that town in particular, it just nobody, for one reason or another, the inventory is just not moving. So is it because the price is too high and the people are not coming down in their price, or is it something else? And maybe it's just that people found out that the town next door to them, they could buy the same thing for less. Maybe that's all it is. So it could be all kinds of variables, but you always have to keep your keep on your finger on the pulse with all of your market. The other thing you have to do is you really have to commit to expireds. Most people, when they start working expireds, give up right away because they'll send out mailers for a month and then they don't get any phone calls, and then they say, okay, that's it, I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm not doing it anymore. It didn't work. Different things like that. So you must commit to at least a year to do. If you're not willing to commit to a year of mailing expired packages, expired listing packages, then you shouldn't even do expireds, because you're not going to get a good return on your investment until after you've been doing it for a while. Don't start if you don't want to commit. Consistency is the key, and you need to have a plan of action and then implement that plan of action. You've got to be consistent. So if you're really busy showing properties or listing, short sales, or negotiating short sales, whatever it is that's happening in your marketplace at the time, you still have to set aside the time each day to work on the expired marketing plan, because marketing is the way that you bring a new business into your business, as it is with any business. So it's not something that you can start and stop. It's something that has to be consistent and continually moving forward throughout your entire business career. It's not something that you turn on and off like a faucet, right? So one of the great things that we like about working with expireds is you can work with them with your strengths. So for us, we don't like to make cold calls. We don't want to check the list to see if they're on a do not call list or anything like that. And we don't want to take the time to go around knocking on doors because we don't feel that's the highest and best use of our time, especially here in Florida when it gets really hot in the summer and you're not going to catch many people outside anyway. Here we go out in the winter, not in the summer. So, and when you set up a really good expired program, you're no longer competing against other agents, and that's what we really like the best. And we're no longer on the defensive because the seller now needs us, and if we don't call them and we don't knock on their door, but we send them a letter and they open that letter, they just did that out of their own free will. So if they call us now, we're no longer on the defensive. Okay, so that's really important when you're talking about negotiating to get a listing. And the biggest problem with if you are in a area where if you like to cold call, so be it. That's fine. I said whatever works. If that's working for you, that's great. But I will tell you that 98% of people in general don't hate to cold call, and 90% of the people in the world don't like to receive cold calls. So you're kind of already going against, you're setting yourself up for a lot of negativity and you're setting yourself up for a lot of rejection. And if you've got a thick skin, that's great. You can handle it. But I don't believe that even if that's the case, if that's really the highest and best use of your time, and if you're getting really qualified sellers that way, because of the fact that when you interrupt market, which is calling them, you're interrupting their dinner, you're interrupting their TV time, their breakfast, whatever it is that you are interrupting, their thought is, how do I go back to what I'm doing? Their thought is not, oh, I'm so glad you called, let me speak with you. That's usually not, the case. So already their mind is not with you. So you're fighting that. You're fighting a lack of attention. You're fighting a lack of concentration. They might be multitasking. Worst thing you can do when you're on the phone is to multitask because people can feel you're not paying attention to them. So all of those things are going against you from that side. Also, you are now on the defensive and they are on the offensive. And what I mean by that is this is the time that they can drill you because you're the one that interrupted them, called interrupting marketing. They can now make some demands on you that you may feel pressured into obeying or accepting. So when we analyze this kind of data in marketing, and this is not just in real estate, but all across all types of marketing, when you're doing the interrupting kind of marketing, and let's talk about real estate in particular and expired listings, that seller now can go to you and say, okay, well, I'm going to interview 5 different agents, and you can be, number 6. And now you're in a position of, do you go on that appointment or not? I mean, he's kind of like trying to play that card on you. The next card they love to play on you is the commission. You're going to reduce your commission. Don't even bother coming over here and talking to me unless you tell me you're only going to do this for X percent instead of Y percent. So it puts you in these positions where you're making a lot of compromises that may be against your business model. And that will set you up for very difficult transactions. Whenever you go against your gut feeling of something feeling good, it usually works out to not be so great. So don't be on the defensive. You want to set yourself up for you to be on the offensive and, well, actually to be a win-win situation. So there's benefits. Other than that, there's a lot of other benefits to direct mail using that in your expired program. And like we said, you're getting their undivided attention. It's permission-based marketing. They can throw the letter. They have a choice. They can throw the letter in the garbage or they can open the letter. Once they open the letter, they have a choice. They can read the letter or throw it in the garbage. They choose to read the letter, they have a choice. They can call you or they can not call you or they can throw away the letter. Then they have a choice. Can they say, not right now, I'll maybe leave this and call back later? So once they call you, because they're the ones who have to pick up the phone, call you if it's through direct mail, that empowers you to be their agent because a lot of times, most of the time, when they call us from doing a letter that's really proactive and all about them, I'm not talking a salesy letter at all, they then are ready for us to list, and we can pretty much take the listing over the phone. Sometimes, you know, we've had a lot of them that we turn down because their prices are just, you know, it is true. A lot of the sellers will call you because they're overpriced and they think that, you know, maybe you're going to be that one agent that can sell an overpriced listing, and they don't understand that that the marketplace determines the price. So we try to explain that to them, but if we get the feeling on the phone that this is not going to be a listing where they're going to budge on price, we just don't even waste our time. So, but that still counts for a call. You know, you have different measurements on your direct mail. You have the calls that come in, which should be, if you're doing it right, should be at between 1% and 2%, and then your conversion rate should be about 50% of that. So it could, and probably even higher. Our conversion rate is probably about 90% on the calls we do get. And like I said, more and more we're turning down listings. If they don't, and we target high-end listings in our expired marketing. We don't, everything we do is above 500,000 when we do expireds. So sometimes one of those people will give that letter to somebody, one of their friends who might have, you know, a $100,000 house, and we don't take those out. You know, we don't usually take that price range at home. So a lot of times, you know, it has to fit our entire business model before we will list their property. This is very empowering to you as an agent, because if you come across as desperate, they're going to walk all over you. You're going to be their babysitter. You're going to be moving all their furniture out of their house. You're going to be cooking them dinner. You're going to be their maid. You're going to be their psychologist, and all of these things, which is not in your job description. So they're hiring you to be a marketer, and this is where a lot of agents misunderstand what their product is. You know, as listing agents, our inventory are the listings. However, to the seller, they're hiring us to market their property, and to represent them in negotiations, of course. But marketing the property is the number one, the most, you know, that is the one that is a very high commodity. You know, when you go to as a company, you go to an advertising agency to hire them to advertise your product, they charge a lot of money to do that service. So our value is in the marketing of the product. And when you put this across in the letter, the strengths of the marketing skills, and you can show that you are strong in marketing skills, that's where your value is. It's not about do you answer the phone all the time. It's not about do you show up for every showing. It's not about, you know, are you going to take care of the cat while they go on vacation, that kind of thing. So the first thing you have to discover when you're going to go after an expired market is who is your audience. You want to know who your prospects are, and that means the sellers. So you need to establish what we call a buyer persona, and I do a whole class on buyer, you know, part of our expired listing program that we teach has a whole, we spend probably about 2 hours developing buyer personas. And what a buyer persona is, and just in a nutshell, because it would take, you know, an hour just to go through that whole process, and what that really means is, when I use the word buyer, it includes sellers, because this is talking about when a seller hires you, they are now a buyer of your product. Okay, so it's called a buyer persona, and this is very popular to use. Most companies now are beginning to use these because they see the value in actually keying into a specific buyer persona. So you need to figure out who that is in your marketplace. So you need to know your market. So is that people that are, so it could be, you could be in a market where in the neighborhood that you want to farm your expireds and work expireds, it might be young families, you know, maybe young married couples just starting out. They're going to become move-up buyers, and they're going to be selling this first-time home that they used to have. That was their first-time home. Maybe they have young children, but you're going to key in. Maybe the wife stays at home. Maybe you're in a market where the wife does stay at home with the kids, or maybe in a market where the wife is at home and going to work and the kids are in daycare. All of these things, we drill a buyer persona all the way down to extreme specifics. And when you do that, you will get the listings. But people are very scared to do that because they feel like they're being exclusive. But you're being very inclusive of the person that is going to list with you, and naturally other people will list also. It doesn't mean that you're excluding them. It just means that you're keying into a particular person and persona so that you can create all your marketing materials to attract that person to call you and list their property with you. And it also helps you to become a specialist, because when you look at who makes more money, specialists or generalists, experts or generalists, if you, who makes more money, a heart surgeon, or a general practitioner, who makes more money, an orthodontist or a general dentist, who makes more money, a teacher that's specific in a certain, very tight physics subject, or a teacher that teaches everything, you see. So the more specific you get, the more money you make, and that's true in real estate. And yet the NAR has come up with statistics that show that only 6% of all the real estate agents and brokers that are members of NAR specialize at anything. So the field, first of all, is wide open. If you love golf and golf is your thing, then you can become a golf specialist, and not only are you serving them so well, but you're passionate about it. If you live on the water and you have a boat, then waterfront properties and the buyer persona, you create a buyer persona about that person that lives on the water and owns a boat and what they're working through in their life, and you connect on that level. So all of this is very important into developing your audience that's going to be listening to you, because like kind attracts like kind. So if you, and that's why you're not going to be a right fit for every single seller. No matter how much you think you might want to do that, it has been proven over and over again that people in that thought process make less money than people who actually specialize. The next thing that's very controversial, and we have done a lot of research on this, and we've been doing expireds for over 25 years, I think. I mean, I got my license in 1983, and the very first thing I did, my mentor sat me down to do, was her expireds for her, so I knew right away that listings, the power is in the listing. Long sales letters will always beat out a short sales letter, and this is the hardest thing for people to wrap their heads around. If you send out a short sales letter, you're most likely not going to get calls unless the people in that neighborhood already know you, okay? So I have a friend, his name is Broker Bryant, he's on Active Rain, and he does a lot of expired listings. But he buys an ad in the newspaper every single week, and he's had this ad, there's a little tiny town he lives in, and they have a little tiny town paper. And in that tiny town paper, his mugshot is there every single week, week after week after week. For years he's done this. So if he's been doing that, I think 6 to 8 years. Now, after a while, everyone's going to know that mugshot, everyone's going to know his name, and so then when he sends a short letter, which he can get away with, they're going to call him because they already know him. So that's different. I'm talking about going into a market where they don't even know you, okay? Or maybe they know a little, but you're up against some other agents. In those situations, and direct mail, long sales letters always work better than anything else. Our sales letter for an expired listing program is 6 pages long. So it goes into an envelope with a brochure, with our business card, and we have to put one of those, I think it's 64-cent stamps on it to mail it out. So it is a nice package, and I have people that I coach that are in areas where they don't have as many expireds as we do. I work with a guy in Utah right now, and what we have him doing is he goes to the post office and gets the second day air envelopes that are free at the post office, and he does not fold his expired letter. It's a long sales letter just like ours is, and he sticks it in his in that box and then drops those off at the houses, because he works basically in his neighborhood. He could usually he can walk to everybody's house the way the houses are situated in his town. So he walks to the different expireds and actually sets that envelope on their porch, because you can't put it in the mailbox. That's illegal unless you pay for postage. So he puts it on their doorstep, and he did that the first time he did it. He did 20 of those, and he called me. He was so excited because 3 people called him. He couldn't, unfortunately, he wasn't able to list any of the 3 because they were all upside down, and they couldn't do short sales because of their particular job, or I think they were military or something like that. But whatever it was, a short sale was not going to be an option for them. So he wasn't able to list them, but he did get those calls, and it just proves that the system will work if you're really diligent at it and come in it with the right attitude. Also, the longer the letter is, the harder it is for people to throw it away. And they also hate to throw away brochures. No matter how expensive their home is, they know, especially in the high-end market, they always keep our brochure. We have a full-color brochure that's tri-folded, professionally done and professionally printed, and it's on that nice, that slick magazine kind of paper. And they will keep those for years. They'll keep them in the drawer. So we get calls a year later, and sometimes even longer. One time even we sent out, just as a farming thing, we sent out magnets to a whole neighborhood. They were like memo boards that you put on your refrigerator and you can write notes on them. And the last time we did that was in 2001, I believe. And we got a call last year from a woman who had that on her refrigerator all these years. And she called to list her property with us. She said she never had a second doubt that we would be the ones that she listed with, and that's why she kept that magnet board up on her refrigerator all those years. So, things like that will happen. I put down it's 7 pages. Yeah, I think it might be 6 or 7 pages. It might be, Nestor might have told me it was 7 because on one of the pages we print on a front and back. So that might be what he told me why it was 7. And it's also a numbers game. Marketing to expireds is a numbers game. So you need to have enough expireds in your market in order for you to be successful at it. If you only have 2 or 3 expired listings a month, because it is a numbers game and because direct mail has a return on its investment, you're not spending out a lot, but don't expect that out of every 3 somebody's going to call you. Usually you have to send out, up to 400 before you get a phone call. So it's not and every market is different. It depends on the price range of the home you're selling. It depends on your geographic specifics about the area that you live in and the area that you work in. Those do play a factor in how the response rate is, and we've measured that in the different parts of the country. And some parts of the country get a lot higher response rates than others. We tend to do very well in the South. People tend to be just a little bit more trusting and reaching out type of people than, let's say, in the Northeast. So agents that we coach, Florida, Georgia, Oklahoma, those kind of areas tend to do very well in marketing to expireds. But the less there are doesn't mean you can't do it. It's just that the less there are, the more proactive you need to be in how to reach out to them. So you got to think about different gimmicks. There's an agent I know in Georgia, and what she does is she lives in a country town, and there's a lot of farms and farmers and stuff where she lives. And so on her expireds, what she does is she sends a letter out, but she delivers it. And then she puts outside on their front door a box, and it says, and on top of the box it says, your listing was as hard to find as a needle in a haystack. And then you open the box and it's a bunch of hay, and she throws a pin in there. So it's a very clever way. If someone didn't call her, she got, I think, out of every 3 people that she dropped that box off, 2 of them would call. And she would get the listings because of the fact that that was a great statement and how good she could market. Because if she could get, her statement was, well, if I could get you to call me, could you imagine how I could get the buyers to call me over your property? The other thing that is a big, huge component to a successful expired marketing campaign today is online dominance. And this is because, one of the things that we use, because we are dominant online and other agents are not very much in our area, that I tell them right in our letter to go ahead and Google me. Because what I want them to see is how we market listings online, how we give the statistics about how 87% of the buyers start their search online, and how do we tap into that how do we attract them to your listing. We tell them about how their listing will be on top of Google, on page 1 of Google. We talk to them about online reputation management in the letter and how that's so important today, especially when we're trying to promote your listing. And we want to drive them. And when they're reading that letter, one of our main goals of that letter is, the main goal is to get them to call us. But if they're not going to call us, if they still don't trust us enough, our second goal is for them to go to our website and our blog and read about us and get to know what's happening. So when we engage them online, now we are really starting a really good communication process. And the combination of those two leads to calls from sellers who just say, hey, what time can you come over tomorrow to list my house? There are no questions about commissions. There are no questions about the length of time of the listing agreement. There are no questions about what are you going to do, because they've already seen everything you do and they got it. So they're really now, interested in moving forward with you. This is huge. And most agents that are doing most of the time people either do all direct mail or online, and they don't know how to marry the two together. And you really need to marry the two together, because in most of the areas, you guys are in South Carolina, there's a lot of people who aren't online. They're not super techie savvy. It's like Florida. We're not the Menlo Park and the Silicon Valley. We're not San Diego and LA, right? So this is a different market, and we've got to train people that the real estate is being done online a lot of times. I mean, we still have sellers who wonder why we don't put ads in newspapers. So that being said, we need to learn how do we marry the two, and we need to train our own geographical areas into going online. And that's one of the ways you drive traffic to your online products and services. The one thing, and I always want to warn everybody, when you're going into an expired program, you get excited, you want to learn all there is to learn. So you go online, you do a Google search, and you start buying all these expired letters to send out. Don't do it. Online expired letter templates do not work. And believe me, most of those, because I am in the business of training agents, they are my competition, most of them, and so I buy all their products to see what it is. And if it's really good, I'll try it. I'll give a guy credit if his letter works. There was this one letter that I bought. The guy's in Miami, and he was talking about how his conversion rate was 6%. So that means that's huge. I mean, 6% conversion rate is like unheard of in direct mail. So I said, wow, that's like really, really high. I wonder what he's doing. And then when he went further into his sales pitch and everything, he's talking about how he gets 8 out of every 10 listings. And I'm like, wow, this is really getting good. So what is it that he's doing? So I ordered his letter. I read the letter. It was a piece of crap. And then I started saying, okay, so why were they calling him? Well, I did some investigation. And what he was doing was the place he was doing his expired marketing direct mail on was the building he lived in, and he was the HOA president of his condo association. He went to all the meetings. He knew everybody. So the letter really wasn't what got, the letter helped him to remind, just like I told you the story with broker Bryant, it helped remind the person who he was, but they already knew him. So that is not a fair letter to sell to somebody who's going to be marketing in a town where everybody does not know you, because the letter's not going to work. So that is one of the problems with templated letters. That's the problem with buying, just these systems out there. They say on day 1, send this letter out. On day 3, send this one out, and they go on and on with all that. And what happens is people can smell phony a mile away. They know you bought that template. They know you didn't make it up. People are not stupid today, and they're getting smarter and smarter as far as marketing goes. And they want to feel your presence, and they need to feel you in your letter. So your letter really needs to come from yourself. Now I do copywriting for agents, and we do develop letters for agents, but I cannot do it without the agent's input and the agent sitting with me there on the phone telling me about herself and her kids and her husband and her life and his job and his golf score, and I mean, on and all these things become such a big part of sharing who you are and coming across as a real person rather than some canned letter you bought from some internet site. Expired automated programs do not work very well. Those are the ones I'm talking about where you buy some system online. Systems are great. You heard me talking at the beginning that you need to create your own systems, but they need to be your systems and they need to be your own systems. I work with private coaching clients where I coach agents and other small business owners one-on-one on what to do to bring their, to create their brand and what to do to bring their business forward. And one of the things that I always tell them is you've got to create these systems, but they have to be yours. They have to work for you. That's why you can't buy a coaching program where everybody is doing the same thing, because what works in South Carolina is not going to work in New York. What works in Colorado is not going to work in Florida. So you've got, what works in Hawaii is not going to work in San Francisco. Everything is relative to your marketplace, and that has to come across. And geo-specific areas, the reason why is they carry with them cultures. There's cultures of people, and people in different geo areas of the country have different behaviors. They have different cultures that they're used to. They have different protocols. They have different courtesies. So, and some of them even speak differently. We speak with an accent, and some, Boston has a big accent or whatever, right? So you have that. So you have all these parts of a person that you need to incorporate into your marketing. So use your money wisely. If you are going to go searching for these kind of products, just be careful. And, I wouldn't do it unless I knew other people had done it, or that it's so customized that the person's going to work, one-on-one with you and help you that way. How do you get motivated sellers? This is the other part that's really, really cool. And we have developed, because we do short sales, well, actually, yeah, I have that on there. Nestor and I do a lot of short sale listings, and we're very good at it, and we close all of them. I think we've lost 3 since 1995. We've been doing short sales, and we have lost maybe 3 to foreclosure. And we carry, anywhere between 50 and 70 listings, and out of those, we'll have 18 of them usually under some kind of short sale negotiation status at at any given time. So we're going through a lot of volume. So we can say, yeah, if you only did 3 short sales and closed all 3, you can say you had a 100% closing ratio, but you still only did 3. When you can say you've only lost 3 after you've done a few hundred, that's really that's really saying something about your ability to do short sales. So we like to put that across to sellers. They're great to get, because when I do short sale sellers, I don't ever meet them. I do everything on the phone and through email. If Nestor or Milette need to go down and take photos, or if they're elderly people, then Nestor will go and meet them usually, because elderly people need to be met. But anybody under the age of 50 is busy, they're working, and they just appreciate the fact that we're going to be fighting for them so hard with the banks. The other place that you can save a lot of time, money, and everything is with absentee owners. Absolutely love those. We have a huge second home market down here, a huge snowbird market down here, so those people need to sell their homes, and when you reach them, when we are listing their homes, they're usually not here. So again, we can do it all over the phone, email, and fax. So absentee owners and second home are great for motivated sellers, but also to save a lot of time getting the listing. And then any life-changing scenarios, people getting married, people getting divorced, someone dying, someone getting ill, someone relocating, all of those types of scenarios are very good motivated sellers that you want to try to seek after and when you're doing your expired program. So just was going to tell you a little bit about some of the programs that we do offer. We have an expired listing secret bootcamp that I run once a year. If you're interested in any of these programs, just send me an email, and I'll show you my email on the last slide. And then I will send you the appropriate list to opt into for that particular product that you're interested in. But we do that once a year, and we usually do it in the summer. We're probably going to do this one in July, so that everybody's ready for the short sales coming up in the fall. I mean, the expired listings coming up in the fall. I'm an Active Rain keynote speaker, so I'll be speaking this year. So if you can make it out to any of the Rain camps, I will be in Orlando in September 14th. I'll be the keynote speaker. Chicago is October 26th, and I'll be in LA on August 18th, and Seattle June 20th, I believe it is. So if you can make it to any of those states for a Rain camp, Orlando's probably the closest for everybody. We'd love to see you there. In order for you to gain that online dominance, I have a beginner product called SEO to the Top. I teach blogging for listings through Active Rain, and we have what is that called? An advanced SEO course called SEO Extreme Bootcamp. We also just came out with a short sell book that's an ebook now, and we're working on getting it on Amazon. I have a few more things to do to it before it's ready for a printed version. And we also do local search marketing dominance for all businesses of all sizes. So we offer private coaching, consulting, group coaching, website makeovers, branding, reputation management, social media marketing. I'll be a keynote speaker if you have places you want me to speak, and local search dominance. So if you want to contact me, my Twitter handle is @CoachKaterina. My email address is coachkaterina@gmail.com. My phone number is 561-753-0135. That will be our receptionist who will take a message for us. You can also go to my SEO website, which is seoforagents.com. I'd also welcome you to come to my Active Rain blog and subscribe to our Active Rain blog at coachkaterina.com. You can also find me as Coach Katerina on LinkedIn and Facebook. And if you want to become on the list about blogging for listings, it's called secretstobloggingforlistings.com. It's an email list, and I send out email tips on that list. So now we can open it up to questions.
Do we have any questions?
Not at this time.
Katerina, you've done an outstanding job. And I would say if any of you agent owners have questions, if you'll email Katerina or email me, and I'll get them to Katerina if you've not written down her email address. But I can tell you, I've taken her SEO, the one for beginners, SEO to the Top, and it was excellent. So I highly recommend her. And thanks again for doing this for us. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. And I think we went over 30 minutes. I apologize. But so if you, any questions?
Okay. We have one question about how often do you do the mailings? How often do you send mailings?
We do them every single day of the week except Sundays.
But do you send an expired more than one listing, more than one mailing?
Oh, no. We don't, unless it's okay. This is the rule for that we use for that, because we just have too many. What we do is we print out a list of all the expireds that we sent a letter to, just from the MLS basically, and then we put that sheet in a binder. We don't put it in a database or go through any of that work. Then what we do is, if the seller calls us, then they go into the database. So whether they list with us or not, they will go into our database. And then at that point in time, they will get future mailings. But in the beginning, we very rarely do that unless it's a property that we just really, really want to go after. So we will send out, a postcard a couple days later or something, but we don't do the salesy stuff. After they get that long sales letter, if we send something else, it's going to be very personal. It's going to be like here, we know a lot of the people there, so let's say the guy's a polo player and we are trying to get his listing. And maybe he doesn't know us personally yet, but we find an article in the newspaper that was written about him, which happens a lot here. We'll cut out that article. We call it making Swiss cheese out of your newspaper. And that's the only reason we take the paper. We take the paper so that we can clip out the articles and send them to the people that they're about. So we'll send that to him. So we're not saying anything about, hey, we see that your house is still not listed, what we're trying to do is to just engage in the conversation. And we find that that works a lot better than bombarding them, you know, day after day with emails. Now, one thing that works really well is if you don't have that many, again, like if you're doing like our guy in Utah does where he drops the package off, then what we have him do is about 4 or 5 days later, he just takes, you know, you can get from Office Depot Astro Bright paper, and you can get it cardstock, and then you can cut it, and he just uses a paper cutter, and he just cuts them into 4 squares so he can use a regular postcard stamp on it, and he'll just write a handwritten note, you know, hey, just, you know, keep, you know, hope everything's okay with you. If you have any questions, give me a call, something like that. And or I see your home is still off the market. Hope everything's okay with you, and that's it. And so those are very effective, very, very effective to use those because you're taking the time to handwrite something.
Outstanding, outstanding information. And again, thank you so much. And we really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Liz, for having me.
Have a great day.
Thank you.